Yo, greetings everybody. How y'all doing? Hope that y'all good, posted cooling. In this video, I wanted to speak with us about a documentary I was watching. It's called Extreme Human Antiquity by a dude named Michael Cremo. Also, excuse me if you might hear any extra noise. I'm over here by the farm now. Alright. So what it was a documentary, bro. Well, not even documentary, but a presentation. And bro was just showing how humans have been here for hundreds of millions of years, you know what I'm saying? And before we even start off, you know what I'm saying, if you had to ask, before even hearing that, how long do you think humans have been here for? How long is the oldest human in your opinion? Alright, so we just gonna start with a couple of cases and we'll just see, you know what I'm saying? So this is, the first one is in Huayaleco, Mexico. It was an excavation at Huayaleco, Mexico, central Mexico. And so there was a geologist named Virginia Steen McIntyre. She and her team found many stone tools and weapons. And in order to date these materials, they used 4 types of tests. Alright. So one of the test name was the uranium series, and it dated the bones. And what they found was the site was 180,000 to 245,000 years ago. The next type of test they did, which was a test on the volcanic ash of the soil, and that figure came out to be 270,000 years. The next one they did was a tetrahydration. This is probably dealing with the water. And the next one was a stratigraphic evidence. It was a calculation of the erosion in rock and sediment layers, and they found that was 250,000 years ago. So based on the average of the 4 sites, or 4 ways of testing, geologists discovered that the site must be at least or around 250,000 years ago. So of course, this is geologists who found this data, and then they began to publish it. But then archaeologists had refused their data because, according to archaeologists, human beings only appeared 20,000 years ago. So here we have already popping the seal open. On average, they tell us, or the common perception, based on the theory of evolution and stuff at the time, I believe like Charles Darwin and them, humans had only came about 20,000 years ago. But here they found evidence in Huayaleco, Mexico, that humans were around 250,000 years ago, because they found tools and weapons that, according to archaeologists, could have only been made by humans. So they made that, so the geologists published the findings. The geologists published the findings, and archaeologists refuted them. So what happened was the geologists then independently published their texts, and they actually had their career finished due to their findings not being in line with the common thought. So once again, according to archaeologists and the common thought of science, humans only had appeared 20,000 years ago. But geologist Virginia Steen McIntyre and her team published and found evidence of humans being around 250,000 years ago. This was in Mexico. So when they published it, their careers were tarnished. You know what I'm saying? Another note, when the methods are used, science has a set certain methods that they use to date things. So when the methods are used and the findings support the theory of evolution, the science community accepts them. But when methods are used and findings contradict the theory, the scientific community rejects them. It has to be an error in the method, but no, the people really just don't like the findings. Alright? So now we'll move on into the next case. And the next one is in Schöningen, Germany. So there were javelin type tools and a wooden spear, and these were found in layers of rock that was dated to be 430,000 years old. Alright, so moving on to the next one. There was a man named Jacques Boucher de Parthes, and he made a discovery in northern France, in Aville. So what he found was an anatomically similar human jaw. And what happened was the people located in layer of earth, and it was dated 430,000 years ago. This is in France. The people claimed it was a hoax and that someone had buried the jar there. He then conducted another excavation. This time he took scientists and officials to watch for error, and they actually found 100 more human bones and teeth. The date was once again 430,000 years ago, guys. Once again, taking it further. Alright, so our next case now moves us to the East Indonesian island of Flores. So there, geologists had found tools and artifacts, and these were aged 800,000 years ago. They used the zircon fission tracking method. And let's go back. Once again, the zircon fission test, the zircon fission test volcanic ash. Alright, so they used this method, and they found it to be 800,000 years ago, guys. So the doubters then claimed that it was made by Homo erectus, which was some type of other human so-called species, Neanderthal species. Alright, so then in a near land named Java, Eugene Du Bois found a skull cap and femur of the so-called Homo erectus in 1891, and they found that it was actually different. Okay? So once again, you have a case here in East Indonesia where it's 800,000 years ago, y'all. Alright? So now we'll move a little bit later. So once again, humans have only appeared 20,000 years ago, they say. You know what I'm saying? But here we have evidence that these are they people. These are scientists publishing 800,000 years ago. Alright? So now we move, and this is occurring in the year 1979 to a lady named Mary Leakey. This is in Laetoli, Tanzania, in East Africa. Alright, and there they found footprints, and they said they were indistinguishable from modern human footprints. They were found in rock layers aged 3.7 million years ago. There was a scientist, 10 white scientists. Make no mistake about it, they are like modern human footprints. So here we have in Tanzania, East Africa, evidence of humans being around 3.7 million years ago, y'all. Crazy. Alright. So now we'll move to the next one. And the next one, this is in northern Italy in the 19th century. And skeletons were found in layers of rock that were aged 4 million years ago. All of the layers of the rock above the skeleton were undisturbed, so it could not have been a burial. So what was happening was sometimes scientists would find these findings, and the people would say, oh, it was fake. Oh, somebody buried it there. But they showed and found evidence that there were no striations or breakages in the soil. So this was like a smooth and solid layer above it. So if someone had dug through and buried it there, you would have saw that in the soil. You would have saw the breaks, but it was smooth. So it couldn't have been buried how they were saying. Alright. So now we'll move to a geologist from Portugal. His name was Carlos Ribeiro, a geologist. Alright. So he discovered hundreds of human artifacts, and these were found in layers of rock that were aged 20 million years ago. Alright. He then displayed these artifacts in the main museum of geology in Lisbon in the late 19th century. Once he died, his colleagues left the artifacts on display, but changed the dates to younger years. What was displayed at 20 million years previously was now just 20,000 years. Wow, so check that, y'all. Carlos Ribeiro, in the late 19th century, found human artifacts in 20 million years ago aged soil or rock. Though once he passed at the museum that he worked at, his colleagues changed the dates from 20 million to 20,000, y'all. So once again, the artifacts are still in the museum today. At least that's what he says. So we have 20 million years, but then it was changed. Wow. Okay. So There was a Belgian geologist, and he found artifacts and layers of rock that were urged 30 billion years ago. This was in the earlier 20th century. When he was alive, he displayed them in the World Museum of Natural Sciences with labels showing 30 million years old. Once he passed, his colleagues destroyed a lot of the original documentation and removed the display. So second instance, y'all, where a bro had artifacts and things showing humans 30 million years ago this time, but then the artifacts were destroyed and the display was taken down. Travesty, y'all. But once again, humans are going back 30 million years at this point, so we wonder where we come from, who we are, what's really going on. We've been here, you know what I'm saying? When a certain people are telling you 20,000 years, maybe that's for a certain people, maybe that's for a certain time. But as far as what's going on for the grand scheme, humans have we've been here. Alright? So moving on. These were the California gold rush discoveries. Alright? This was in Sierra Nevada, one of the many places where mining was done. Tools such as stone mortars and pestles were found, and they were considered by archaeologists to be only possible to be made by humans like us. Alright? Okay, moving on. Okay, this is in the Happisburgh, UK. This is in 2013. Footprints were once again found in deposits that were aged 78,000. Okay. Alright, continuing on. Alright, these will be the last two, and then we'll go ahead and close it out. Alright. So in this one, you have in Macoupin County, Illinois, a human skeleton was found 90 feet deep in the soil. This was in the 1860s, and the rock layer was dated to be 300 million years ago. In 1892, a gold chain of 10 inches was also found in coal that was dated 300 million years ago. This was also in Illinois. So we have an instance here in Macoupin County, Illinois, in the 1860s where a human skeleton was found 90 feet deep in the soil. And then in 1892, a 10-inch chain was also found in coal that was 300 million years ago, y'all. Crazy. Alright. So then there was an article in the Scientific American, and this occurred in Dorchester. There was a metallic base. It was 15 feet below the surface in solid rock, and it was dated to the Cambrian period. And according to their charts and dating, the Cambrian period was about 600 million years ago, y'all. 600 million years ago as far as human history. Okay? Alright, here we have the last one before we close it out. There were miners, and they found metal objects in South Africa. I believe the name was Ottesdal in the western part of South Africa. Ottesdal or Ottesdal. Alright, so the materials they found were made out of hematite, and they also had parallel grooves that go around the center. It almost looked like Saturn or Jupiter. They were found solidly embedded in layers of rock that were over 2.2 billion years ago. So even here, we have evidence of human history going back 2 billion years, y'all. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? So once again, nothing is what you know. Nothing is what it seems. You know what I'm saying? In our history, it goes back. You know what I'm saying? It's really no tracing it, to be honest. But one thing I'm even just starting to realize is that the history is kind of encoded in a lot of the mythologies. What was a mythology to one and certain people could have been the stories of legends before them, or the real people. You know what I'm saying? So our history is innumerable. We're an ancient people, y'all. Humans have been found 2 billion years ago. You know what I'm saying? Think about that, y'all. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely just wanted to share that with us. You know what I'm saying? That was an interesting documentary that I was watching. And it was called Forbidden Archaeology. The dude's name is Michael Cremo. Forbidden Archaeology, you know. Alright, then just closing out, last note. Bruh, according to him, he studied the ancient Vedic, Aboriginal American, and other cultures, and he noticed that all of the texts speak about how time is, goes, and occurs in cycles. Humans have been here for hundreds of millions of years. So once again, according to these texts, according to the history, time is something that is cyclical. It goes on in circles. So what's going on now? How they say nothing is new under the sun. We really are all good, y'all. So it's respect as we moving forward. Definitely wanted to share that with y'all. I encourage y'all to look that up. It's called Michael Cremo, Extreme Human Antiquity. Much love.